You are now listening to the Knights Around the Table podcast.
So call right now while supplies last. Look, I didn't coin this phrase at all, but this deal will change your life. Call right now. You can get this tax-free now. Call right now for your 2000th anniversary commemorative sanctuary shekel today.
Sanctuary shekel.
A shekel.
Wow. I hadn't heard that one.
All kinds of products.
In case sanctuaryshekel.com is listening, we can hopefully pitch a sponsorship one day.
Yes.
That'd be great. Well, episode 2 coming at us officially. We're going to take it a little bit, maybe dip into some old school conversation on Christian media as a whole, really, and as it relates to kind of what's out there, where we come from in the Christian media side, and we
come a long way.
Man, in my life alone, I have seen the age of floppy disk, dial-up internet, to us, downloading 24 Trojan viruses on LimeWire.com to get like the newest Newsboys song.
Yeah.
And and of course today, all of our smartphones, all of the technology we have, and we're constantly in a streaming age. A lot of awesome media to go around. So let's just jump right in. What Christian media are you guys catching in today?
Well, man, there's so many good things to choose from now. I mean, back in the day, it was so hard to find good quality Christian media that actually you felt like was, well, I mean, they tried to have the good message in there, but it's like entertaining and also like really good quality. So, but man, with stuff like The Chosen, this new House of David show, and back in the day, there were a couple of movies that were there that were good, but man, stuff like that, it's been powerful, man.
Dude, did you ever watch Bible Man?
I didn't.
Oh, I thought it was so cool back in the day, and I guess it is. It's a cool show. Good premise, but the bad guy would come in and the action would be the bad guy would say, "I'm gonna get you, Bible Man." He'd go, "No weapon formed against me shall." Like he would fight him with just the words of the Bible. I was like, oh, okay, that's it's not Batman where you take his batarang and like whip it around or something.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is in the Bible Man animation ones now they're pretty cool for kids to check out now.
Oh, yeah.
They got a lot of cool stuff, but for me, I always thought it was almost like Christian media back in the day was almost like the table at school with the cool kids just didn't sit at that table. And it wasn't that it was bad stuff. It was just, it felt kind of like in a lot of ways, like fish out of water. It was like, it just wasn't at the quality that, the mainstream or the secular, industry had. And man, now the tables have turned in such a dynamic way that some of our Christian artists and stuff that you see are on top of Billboard charts, even above, many headlining, secular artists, and the production of quality and film, has really gone way up. It's really, really amazing. Come a long ways.
For sure. One of the ones that this one was good. So this was before they started peaking, where people really started profiting off of it and actually making good stuff. But one of the ones back in the day that hits hard, I think, is The Prince of Egypt. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. Is that the animation?
Yeah.
The
animation. And did you see that?
Yeah, that's my wife's favorite movie.
It's in my top. It's in my top
Nice.
5. I mean, that one goes hard. So the music's good. Of course, the message is good. And there's probably like here and there some little deviations, but I mean, for the most part, like they got it right. You know? And plus, my wife and I we're into like Broadway stuff, and they made a Broadway show version of it. And,
Oh, shoot.
And so I don't think it's coming around to like most of the theaters here, but if it does, that's one I definitely want to see. Just because the music's really good in it too. But
That's awesome.
Well, they definitely have a wider, what would you say, pool to choose from than when we were coming up. Because again, when the back then the technology to produce this stuff was limited.
Right.
So the market for, I guess, the Christian portion of that wasn't there. It wasn't as strong. So of course your secular side's going to get the majority of that. And then, so now the technology, and like we're doing this podcast in the church office, that's super easy to do, convenient, and we have the same technology that they do. Well, I wouldn't say the same, but a similar technology that they do for anything else out there. So the technology is more readily available. So now we can produce that and distribute it, and then that's where we're getting a lot more stuff to choose from and get to the church and stuff, or biblical based shows. And it's a lot more than we had.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was just, I wouldn't say I was too old for it. I wasn't very into it. But VeggieTales that came out, I was probably 15, 16, something like that. So it wasn't targeted towards me. No, everybody loves VeggieTales. It's hilarious. Great stuff. But that was cutting edge. And, before that, you didn't have,
that's very
anything.
True. Well, you think about and here in our little studio, we have pictures of the founding members, the charter members of our church here at Ebenezer in South Carolina, planted over 100 years ago. If you were to tell them that we'd be sitting here recording a conversation around a table that would be put out to the world, access to the whole world, they would not believe you for 1 minute. No. And it makes you almost wonder, because we have seen our generation is so acclimated to quick change in technology. I mean, shoot, you buy a brand new iPhone, next year they already got a new one. You know what I'm saying? It happens so fast. But it makes you wonder what is going to be possible, through technology and through media, that we even today are there's no way, how would we ever do something?
Right. Well, I don't know if you've seen, so one of the episodes of House of David last season, or I guess it's the first season still, but they're basically the whole opening sequence, the first 10 or 15 minutes was all AI. They did a scene, it was about the Nephilim, and anyway, they were kind of saying, they were doing own little spin about, how Goliath and his brothers may have come to be and everything. And, but yeah, the whole opening sequence is all AI, and you can kind of tell, but it's really good. It's actually pretty decent. But yeah, Christian media in itself, I think another thing they've gotten right too. So let me slow up here. Another thing they've gotten right is I think they've been more authentic. And what I mean by that is a Jesus movie or a Moses movie and all this stuff, that's a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? And you can read kind of the story, obviously, of Moses in the Bible and look at the movie and it's the same. But I think the difference has been lately, at least with the movie and show side, is that they've chosen to take a route that seems more like you're in the story. This isn't just a story you're reading about, a character. This is somebody real we're talking about.
Right.
And they have real issues. They have real problems, real earthly type of problems. And they kind of intermesh the message with it. And now, not to a point where it skews the truth, but that's, at least to me, but that's, I don't know. I think that's a big reason. It
puts flesh on these characters. Right. And even whenever you're doing Bible studies and stuff, it's very important to recognize that these aren't it's not like the Bible's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's not this fairy tale. These are people that went through the same things, even though they maybe lived in a period of time that their technology is way different, their lifestyle is way different, their culture is way different. They still struggled with the same thing. They're human, just like all the rest of us. They felt things, they went through things, and it's media is a great outlet to really display that, and that also helps us relate to the Word. It's not some unobtainable, it's something that we can step right into ourselves because, these folks lived it, and we can grow off of that.
Right. And, kind of going along with TV shows and things, and authenticity. I mean, you see all these podcasts popping up, and hopefully like ours too, we're having conversations either amongst men or amongst like-minded people about Christian faith and in the Bible and things is becoming more common. It's back in maybe those days, like the days when we grew up, like the early 90s and stuff, that you had more cheesy, not relatable things. Whereas you present material like you've been there. You walk where these people have walked and done what these people have done. It makes it more relatable to attach to.
I think that word that you said, authenticity, is probably the most key part to Christian media. Like, not just displaying authentic characters in the Bible, like for really who they would have been, you know, based on who they would have been as people and humans, but like, you know, the even music, like you know, in you know, so many circles, you know, certain aspects of music isn't accepted. Like, you know, maybe, you know, if it's hymns, I don't want to hear it. You know, some you really modern, you know, Christians, you know, or if it's not hymns, I don't want to hear it. You know, that kind of feeling that like only certain media can be accepted. And I think you're seeing like almost a revival. Like, you know, we can be authentic in our personalities, in who we are, and it's not something to be ashamed of. Now, there's a fine line between because you do have those media outlets that will put a cross on an album or wear a cross necklace or something, and they'll say a couple things maybe about Jesus and then contradict everything else. That's a whole different thing. But I think you know, authentic Christians living authentic lives who are not perfect and they don't pretend to be, but they're walking this journey with everyone else and they're showing the real change that God is doing. That, to me, that makes a big difference. And media is an awesome place to showcase that. Oh, yeah. And I think that's why it's having a great effect.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when we were, or before media got as broad as it is now, was many people producing what they were. Back then, it was more like, I guess, the Hollywood sector that would produce. And if they would produce a biblical style movie, or like I think 10 Commandments came out when I was a kid, and some stuff like that. But anyway, when it was, they weren't necessarily worried about getting the accuracy and the biblical aspect and using it for ministry. They were worried about making money.
Oh, yeah.
So you could see that in that film. And then you get these new movies. I haven't looked at who's making them, what their motives are, or anything like that. But they feel like The Chosen and all that stuff feels a little more accurate and biblical based. If it is written, I don't know. But I mean, just being a Christian, reading the Bible, having knowledge of it, you can put two and together. You can see through it. And there are some stuff that you see that I don't know how that would be, or that might not be. But for the most part, it lines up. It's pretty accurate. So I don't know how that's coming about. Like if that is something that these people are pushing, or if it's just something that, you know, God's moved in that industry and all of a sudden they've worked out. Now, whether they're making money off of it or if it's just that something they're using for ministry, it really doesn't matter. Yeah. The end result's that all that matters. But, you know, so that's an aspect. And then another thing with these movies, so we watched Chosen, one episode of it I was watching, and it made me think. I've always wondered this. So when they are like, they have to go from one town to the other. They walk, but the Bible leaves out a lot of details. Yeah. So you can't possibly document every aspect of it. So that gives you like their perspective. All right, now I got to walk here. That's not they say he left Jerusalem, went to, somewhere else, and then he spoke over there. And all of a sudden you skipped out that 10, 15-day journey. Well, and the way what could have happened there?
Yeah, I like the way they did a couple of those scenes. At least the way that I thought was pretty cool was like for example, one scene in The Chosen, they were going from one town to the other. They end up coming across these Roman soldiers, and at this point, the Roman soldiers kind of tell Jesus and his disciples like, "Where are y'all going?" And then he tells them where. I forget where they're going, but basically the Roman soldiers are like, "Well, why on y'all's way there? Why don't y'all carry our stuff?" And so they start taking off all their gear, their armor, all this stuff. Of course, this isn't in the Bible, but This is something they've, kind of done for the show. But what it did is it gave them the opportunity to relay one of the messages that Jesus taught. So the message was, whenever somebody tells you to walk 1 mile, you walk 2 miles. And so in this scene, basically, Jesus and his disciples are carrying these Roman soldiers' gear, and it's heavy, and it's, it's aggravating, it's hot. And by the time they reach the first mile, the soldiers are like, all right. And then all the disciples are like worn out. They're dropping everything. And Jesus keeps walking. And so they're kind of like stopping, like, what is he doing? And then Jesus says, come on, guys, keep coming. So then he walks 2 miles. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, so that's something that, I mean, again, it's not biblical, but it kind of helps.
So they have to take liberty with some aspects of it because it's not there. They have to fill in gaps. So it is good as long as they keep that fill in or the filler biblically based and don't start, taking liberties with that, which is where a lot of it has. Because, I mean, you can't dispute what's written down, what's documented. But what's not is where you can start going out there. And if you start, getting out there in left field or contradicting, like you said, then, you're not doing right. So,
the beauty of media is it really allows, the gospel message and just, the kingdom to expand in ways that was not possible before. Jesus had to walk town to town to get the message out. Now we can press a record button. You know what I mean? It's just we've come so far. The blessing of media is incredible. The miracle of media.
Well, speaking of media and Christian music is another thing that's kind of come a long way as well. So even specifically, I'm thinking about a time when you and I, we were blessed with the opportunity to...
This is a great story.
I'll have to let you tell it.
We will pause because I believe in this episode of our second official episode, we now have segments, which is really exciting.
Oh, okay.
We are going to do I knew I was going to say it, like VeggieTales, silly stories with the boys. Segment number 1, silly stories with the boys. We'll bring that story in just a minute. But silly stories with the boys. Let's get it rolling.
All right.
Yeah, y'all go ahead. That was a good one. Y'all touched on it last time.
Oh, silly. Okay. Oh, this is great. This is great. So here we go.
There.
We're segueing right on in. So believe it or not, we had the opportunity to be on stage at the Colonial Life Arena, which is here in Columbia, South Carolina. 30,000 people, not to brag, on a stage with New Song at Winter Jam. And the way all that happened, I've got pictures up. Maybe on our YouTube channel we can show the pictures on our stream. It was incredible. We 2 days before Winter Jam, I was youth pastor at the time. 2 days before Winter Jam, we got a phone call from one of the producers looking for a local youth group who's planning to go to Winter Jam. They just called randomly, and we're like, yeah, we're all going. And they said, would you like to be in the concert? We're like, what are you talking about? And they said, we need extras. We need people who will get up on stage. We have choir robes, and you need to sing the chorus of the song with New Song at a certain part in the song. They're going to bring you up, and we need you to be essentially props and sing along with them and kind of add an element of excitement to the end of the song.
Well, I can't remember when we got there. Where did they take us? Because I can't remember if we went backstage.
So first of all, I'm like, this has got to be a joke. Like, there's no way. And they told us, when you get there, there's going to be this guy. He's standing at the door. You need to go in this entrance. Tell him who you are with. They gave us all these little passes, and we went right backstage.
That's right.
Immediately, we walked right in. Everybody's standing at the door trying to get in. They bring us right in. And so this is at the University of South Carolina. They bring us into the basketball, the visitor women's basketball locker room. That's where we were in. The visiting team.
In the arena or the Coliseum?
Yes, in the arena.
The
new one. Yeah. So they bring us in there, and we're all sitting in there. By the way, on the minibus ride over, none of us have heard this song before. That we're supposed to be on the stage singing in front of 30,000 people. We don't have a clue. So
honestly, that part was kind of disorganized. It was it was more like, just show up and we'll tell you what to do.
Yeah. So we're riding in this minibus over there to the arena, and somebody's got their cell phone out, and we all jam. We're all listening. We're like, all right, you won't let go. We're like, okay, here we go. I think we got it. So we went into the little locker room, and we're all sitting back there. It felt like forever. I mean, we're sitting back there in this little room. They got us locked in, and we're all kind of humming and singing and talking. And all of a sudden, one of the lead singers for New Song, the headlining band there, comes in the door. It's like, all right, guys, y'all ready to go? And all right, we're going to sing this song together. I want to see what you know. And he starts singing, and we're all like... We try. Wait, hey boy, we're closing our eyes. We're getting into it.
He provided critique though.
Hey, he did. He's like, no. He's like, what church y'all from? We're like, Ebenezer Pentecostal Holiness. He's like, y'all Pentecostal and y'all sitting there like that? He's like, I need to see movement. So we all sitting there start moving, and he's like, all right, y'all need to start clapping. And he's like, oh no, y'all don't need to clap like white youth group. Y'all need to clap like you got some rhythm here.
Yeah,
and
I remember
was like,
specifically,
all right.
He stopped for a second. He was like, listen. He's like, we're giving you our set for 30 seconds.
He sure did.
He was like, y'all need to be serious with this thing. And so
yeah,
he was.
Which in our defense, we weren't cutting up. We weren't making. I mean, but we didn't know what we were doing. 2 days ago, we just going to a concert. Here we are in a production set now.
Youth group,
And so we getting coached up, and we're like, all right, we got it, man. And we're getting all hyped up. And it gives us our choir robes, and we start taking selfies with our choir robes on. Here comes Andy Mineo, the Christian artist, comes skateboarding by.
I looked up to him, but then when I saw him, I looked down to him.
Yeah, little man. So we all sitting there, and we're like, dude, can you believe this? This is crazy. We're backstage. And so the producer's out there, and he's got his little walkie-talkie, and it gets part to a song, the song that we're supposed to come out in. And we're all backstage, and we're like, can you believe this is crazy? And just a sea of people, right? Oh, yeah. And it's just black. You can't see nothing, but everybody's got their little cell phones out, lights, LED stuff everywhere. It looks insane. And we're supposed to come out in the dark. They split us up in half, like half our group's on this side, the other half's over here on this side of the stage. And at one part, the producers are going to tell us to walk up, but it's dark. So when the lights come back on, New Song has this full choir behind them, and it's just our youth group. It's just us.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there. We go on the stage. All of us got our cell phones out and stuff, like video. We can't believe this is crazy. And we go up on stage. They had the lights off. And of course, when they bring the lights on, son, I hit the lean with it and the rock with it as hard as I ever have in my life. I mean, we swaying, boy. We clapping. We close our eyes, man. We feeling it. I look over there. I got my other half of my youth group over there. They're feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. It's crazy. And we sing. We high five, and then basically I think we just go back to our seat. But we, for a brief moment, will always be able to say we were on a stage at Winter Jam with New Song.
We'll probably never do that again.
Oh, no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
We didn't get paid. There was nothing like that. There was nothing like that. But
we didn't even actually get to talk to him after that. We just kind of cut away and we were gone.
It was the most, I would say, it definitely wasn't super organized. It was it was in the sense they knew when they wanted us to go up. Everything on that production side was super organized.
Yeah.
The lead up and the build up, it was almost like we were walking by and they were like, hey, y'all want to go sing on a stage? We're like, what? It didn't, it was wild. But we, that's a fun trivia fact. We sang on the stage at Winter Jam.
No,
did you ever go to that?
No, I never went to that. That's you don't ever see yourself there, but in front of 12,000 people, I mean, with the lights were on when y'all were singing. Could y'all see people?
We could see. Well, the lights in the stage and stuff, they're so bright. I mean, to be honest with you, it's like a blur. It happens so fast.
Well, really, you couldn't see anybody.
You couldn't see anybody.
So
they're out there, but you can't make out.
Yeah, dude, it was so dark. Yeah. Honestly, the place that was the brightest is where you were standing, and everywhere else is just kind of dark.
Yeah,
I mean, you could see flashlights from phones. And
right.
Stuff,
we had so many other youth groups and people that we knew there, and that nobody had a clue that was us.
No.
Nobody knew. We're like, do you remember that? That was us. They're like, what? How'd y'all do that? And I'm like, man, I don't even know. Somebody just called the office one day.
They called Dina, I think.
They called Dina. That's exactly what it was. Your wife. And it was crazy. But
that's awesome. So you weren't, when you got up there, you didn't have stage fright, or it wasn't.
I did.
So you didn't lock up?
No, you couldn't. They gave you strict orders. You better move.
Locking up.
You better move when you get up there.
Did they have anything picking up your voice for singing?
No, we were kind of just props. They had an audio. They had an overlay of a choir that had been studio recorded.
So they made you sound good.
Yeah. We sounded good. Hey,
look.
man, dude, I was hitting it hard too, boy.
How many people did y'all have with you?
Oh, there's probably
25.
Yeah, 30 of us. 15 on one side, 15 on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And it was wild, man. But I will say, in that moment, I had no business being up. I'm not a singer. Half of our youth group had no business being up there at all. But man, we were getting it so hard. It was amazing. And I'll try to remember to put some pictures up on our YouTube broadcast. But it was a good time, man. It's just Christian media talk. It's just really funny how sometimes, things like that have happened to people, and it happened to us all kind of out of nowhere. Really amazing.
Yeah.
So, that's a good story.
Sure is. So our producer's holding up a sign as she's writing paragraphs. Why are you writing paragraphs? We have to all stop what we're saying. All right. Let's see here. Okay, speaking of music, let's talk about choir complaints, worship, and how to handle. Oh my goodness, what are you trying to do to us? Choir complaints.
Get the podcast canceled.
Right, choir complaints. I have a complaint. No clap. All right. If you clap on the first and third beat of every
I've
measure,
heard this story. But
let me tell you that is a pet peeve of mine.
What is that?
It's a white thing, I think.
Well, I don't understand what that is.
So instead of going like
The default inside of
great
us.
is our God. So instead of doing that, you go like, how great. Wait, no,
You did it naturally.
I'm about to say it's hard to even do it wrong.
It'd be how great is our
See,
God.
you're doing it too.
I'm still doing it.
That's the right way or wrong way?
That's the right way still. It's hard to even do.
Okay. Great is our God. There it is.
All right.
Sing with. Anyway, all right. If you're not a drummer, this probably means nothing to our listeners. That is a big complaint. Clap on beat. If you
Or don't clap at all.
Or don't.
Yeah.
So here's a life hack. Okay, here's a life hack. Listen to a song, and when you hear the drum kit hit the snare drum, boom, you hear the drummer. The snare drum sounds like a clap. It sounds like that. Clap with the drummer.
Yes.
Clap with the drummer.
Not with the one on his foot.
The bass? No, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's on 1 and 3. Yeah, this means nothing, absolutely nothing. We're going in the weeds here, but
Well, no, this is great. This is great educational.
yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's
Clap on the snare, not on the bass.
not on the bass. Clap on the snare.
What if I clap on both?
Hey, praise break, son. Praise break.
Yeah.
Praise break it.
Yeah.
Nah,
My wife claps on it. She alternates.
yeah.
This chorus will be on
Yeah.
the bass. This one will be on the snare.
Well,
Snare,
and truthfully, as long as you're clapping on beat, I guess you're technically not wrong. You're in it. But choir complaints. I don't know choir. I mean, we get a lot of complaints. I'm also do the sound is in our church, so the sound guys sometimes. We can't hear, but that's...
Well, I think I kind of want to segue back to the media, the music thing. So, did y'all have any favorite music artists growing up that you listened to that was Christian? Because, I think most of the time, whenever I would find somebody, maybe this sounds kind of stupid, but what I would do is I'd find somebody in the secular world. I was like, man, I like their stuff, and then I'd try to find somebody that was parallel to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That mimicked it kind of, or had a similar sound.
Exactly. That almost was kind of like the Christian, underlying name here. Whoever it was that you liked.
Yeah. So the OGs, DC Talk, the original.
Oh yeah.
The originals, those were the jam. And then of course Newsboys. Everybody liked Newsboys. The OG Newsboys.
Timeless.
Yep.
We grew up. I probably grew up the same way y'all did. So every day you wake up to the moment you go to bed in the house, WMHK was playing.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday mornings you get Ranger Bill and the Ventures and Odyssey and whatever the other radio. So you grew up with that. So that's all we ever heard. And then riding in the car, my dad's truck, whatever, that is the only thing. So we never heard anything else.
Right.
Now, my dad had a construction company, so I go to work with him. You get some rough characters out there, but they'd be always listening to country or something like that when they had a radio accessible. So you obviously had, you heard stuff and you knew stuff, but for the most part, that was it. And your Christian radio back then was not so much like it is now. You didn't have the, I guess the contemporary was really starting to get, because I was like that. Late 80s, I guess. So the contemporary was really starting to get into its own. Now it's almost, I wouldn't say indistinguishable, but it shares a lot of characteristics. The talent and skill it takes to produce that music. If you were going to do that, the only way you could really make money was in the secular world for a long time. So that's why your best and brightest went over there.
Yeah.
So now it's again, you're able to do that, and people just. That's what they want to do. They follow the call of God on their life. They stay there. But the talent is undeniable. It's more, I wouldn't say more, but it's a lot more of it out there anyway, and a lot more stuff that you can listen to. But there's still some aspect Bible says you should be able to tell the difference. And so that's the only thing that's always been pushed or preached to me my whole life by my, anybody who I've ever looked up to, grandparents, teachers in the church, parents, aunts, uncles, whatever. There should be a distinguishable difference. So if you go there and like you said, you were kind of looking for that same sound, whatever, you got to be careful with that. And this is what I try to teach my kids as well when they get there. Like that stuff, that beat when you hear it or whatever that makes you want to nod your head, and you can't deny that. But there is something you should turn that radio on and hear it, and you immediately know something's different about this.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you got to be careful. You got to kind of go
That's
back.
what I was
going
to kind of ask. Because I've kind of pondered this question myself. Like, is there space in any kind of media, really, be it music, movie, whatever? So you have, I guess, Christian media that specifically glorifies the Lord. Like, I mean, the message is not hidden in there. It's
Right.
plain as day. But then you have like the polar opposite, right? Like, rated R things, music that's talking about all kinds of stuff. I guess I'm asking the question about the middle area, like the area that's like, I don't know. I'm just going to throw out an example, like a country song that talks about times with my dad or whatever. He's
Yeah.
passed away, but now
I
he's
see
gone.
what you're saying.
Is there a medium where it's not necessarily glorifying to God, but it's actually still okay
Well, there'd
to
be
listen to, like, or healthy even? I guess healthy is the better
An
question,
example
but-
like that would be like classical music. You have Beethoven and Bach and all these great composers. There's nothing in there that you would, if you just turned it on, you're not hearing Jesus out of it. But I mean, that's an amazing talent and skill that they possess to compose that and then to produce that. So I don't necessarily think that it's wrong to do that or listen to that or anything like that. I think that's actually a talent you're using. You can use that to glorify God. There's nothing wrong about singing a song about going hunting, fishing with your dad.
Right.
Where I'm thinking it might get a little hazy is when you start using that to, how would you say it, not glorify, but actually
You're glorifying yourself sometimes. When you begin to glorify yourself or other things over, you
Right.
can glorify God through loving your wife.
Yeah.
Or spending time with your family or just enjoying life.
when you actually put stuff in there that takes people further away,
Right.
you gotta.
That's the part.
That's
That's
the-
the
that's
part
the
where you
part.
could be like,
Right. And I think that, clearly God is a creative God. I mean, he is the creator. I mean, he created, he's, it's in our nature to be creative. And whenever you use arts and display, it's like you said, even though Beethoven, it's not per se a worship song, it is using his gift in a beautiful way. I think even in that could bring glory to God by being,
I mean, David played his
express
heart
it, right.
without singing a song.
So,
to calm Saul.
Now,
So-
with that being said, I think too, the difference in a lot of ways, especially today, that singers, the distinguishing factor sometimes is the nature of the music and its lyrics. If there are some songs that I have listened to, some artists that I've played in my youth group and different things, that there's one particular artist that comes to mind who started off, his songs were super, centered, biblical centered, really, really uplifting in ways. And as time went on, he actually ventured into the secular field hard and started using profanity in his songs. And all of his fan base, really came from Christian, roots. And they were like, man, I really wish you wouldn't do that. And he, was like, well, this is who I am now. This is what's happening. Clearly, that's something that crosses the line when you begin to sound like the world, talk like the world, view things like the world. I mean, the Bible calls us to be set apart. And really, that's what a life in Jesus is. He brings us out of that darkness.
Be in it, but not of it.
Exactly. The sound of a violin string, the sound of a drum, all those don't in itself make a song Christian or not Christian. it certainly it is the heart and the act, and more or less the life, really, I think, more so than anything, the life of the person and what they do. Not saying that they're perfect, but their heart is really through their media, through their music, through their efforts, to glorify God and to edify and encourage and enrich. There's some Christian artists that'll make a song and write a song about their wife or something. And maybe some people would say, well, that's not really a Christian song. That's a lot like a love story. Well, I mean, that's probably a good thing to love your wife and to, it's not causing somebody to stumble. If you went too far, that's one thing. But having media that will encourage in marriages, encourage in your day-to-day walk, encourage in your outlook on life, how you perceive things, that's all very important. Those are great tools that we can see used in the Christian sphere.
For sure.
Yeah. The other half of that is you have a lot of this comes from the older generation. And I mean, like my grandparents, that side. So they were so worried about distinguishing themselves from the world and secular side that they overcorrected. And I wouldn't say they overcorrected because they're not wrong, because they guarded themselves.
Sure.
But there's some churches out there and a lot of people that they didn't like drums in the church. Some people went so far they didn't want singing. And because they didn't want to have anything, and if that's what you need to do to keep yourself safe,
right?
You're not wrong,
right?
But there's a lot of people out there, like y'all play drums, you use that as a way to worship and to glorify. Is it wrong for them to tell you you're wrong for doing that? Because I mean that's an avenue that you use to worship, and I mean that's kind of discouraging to someone. And let's say y'all aren't as sound as you are in your beliefs. If you have someone who's fairly new and they're really good drummer who wants to play drums in church, and they just completely destroy them and say, no, playing drums is sin because that's what they use. So are you now wrong for basically this guy's going to be really discouraged now? He's going to be like, well, I can't do anything, and I might as well go back. Or either, it's going to be a much harder way for him to get to where to keep growing in his faith, because you just gave him a lot of negativity. And so you got to be careful about that. And again, my grandparents' generation, not necessarily them in particular, but that generation, there's a lot of that. They didn't like anything other than hymns. And again, the younger generation, I remember when I was in youth, it wasn't a big deal. It's probably like it is now. The kids, it's a revolving door. So our revolving situation. So when we were coming up, they'd have a lot of hymns in the church. Yeah, I mean, every Sunday, you probably remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, man, I didn't play too many hymns. That was just the stuff we talked about. I couldn't have cared less because I'm not a real big singer, so it didn't bother me one way or the other. But there was a lot of that. And I had this in my mind. I said, well, they have the reason they're doing this. If you have a reason you want to do this, you gotta
right.
I don't know how to say it. Neither one of them's wrong as long as you're focused and looking at the same thing, and you're both wrong if you're tarnishing the other people. So you gotta check yourself, be careful, and make sure whenever you are, giving correction or whatever advice to somebody, or you're chastising them per se, that it's you're careful in what you do and you're not hurting them, because if you're hurting them, that's almost worse than letting them do what they're doing anyway.
I always kind of come back to what is the heart. Like and the older I get, this really means more to me now. Like I'm really taking time, especially since I have kids. There'll be songs that they'll come home from school and sing and want to play on the YouTube and whatever. And I'm like, I'm finding myself really listening now intently and intentionally to the words. Like, let me hear the heart. Like, what are you saying right here? Because like even for kids, they may be singing along to words. They don't even know what it means. But that subconscious, I believe that's a lot of times that's how the enemy deceives us and kind of slips in. So I some of these hymns, if you ever, and there was a day when hymns was cutting edge music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. The revolving door.
It is. So, but if you ever, whether it's secular, I say secular. I mean, you can do this with secular music too. But kind of new age, modern worship and hymns, if you look and listen to the words, man, there are songs that you can just see and sense and feel the anointing over. And that is timeless. That transcends sound. That goes far beyond style. the anointing and the power of God and the message in these songs. And, try to intently listen and go back to the heart, and you will see that I think you'll get a lot out of it that way.
Well, and you talk about the preference between hymns and choruses or modern worship or whatever. I mean, talking about the heart, what is our focus on? Like, what are we, I guess what I'm trying to say is the heart of our worship should not be about what I like.
Right. Exactly.
It's about what is going to edify the Lord. Right. And man, I just love all things music. So like, there are some hymns that are just like, man, this one, you can obviously know it's anointed. And then there's modern worship songs the same way. It's just, it may not be my preference, some of the hymns, but, is it glorifying God's name? Is it doing a good job of that? And then if you look at the lyrics and stuff and it does, then, that's kind of where the buck stops, at least for me.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. Well, that's really good. A lot of good questions. This leads us to segue and segment number 2. This is rapid fire questions, state of the art technology. Here we are with our rapid fire cup. And we're going to be bringing some questions for the boys here and hear their input. So rapid fire segment number 2 is going to kick off with the first question. Okay, board games or card games? Evan?
Board games.
Board games?
I'm pretty mean in Uno. So.
Oh, Uno. So card game.
Well, you got to be careful what kind of card games. We're not gamblers in the Jones residence.
Hey,
but,
yeah,
but we do play another mean game of spades.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. All right. I will go down for card game myself. A good game of hand and foot or progressive rummy. Can't ever go wrong with it.
Hard to beat it.
Yep. All right. Rapid fire question number 2. What's your nickname for your wife?
Babu.
What?
Babu.
All right.
Yeah,
you got to give us some background.
It's
here.
not really rapid fire, but
Babu.
Yes. So it all happened because of an accident one day. Because I can't remember what we were doing, but there was this. We were talking about something, and then she was across the house, and I was trying to call her name, and so it was a mixture between baby and I don't know, boo.
Babu.
Or something. I don't know how it came out, but it came out Babu. And so after that, it just kind of stuck. So now around the house, we'll just be doing stuff and like, hey, Babu, did you get the clothes out the dryer or whatever?
Does she call you that too?
Oh, yeah, we call each other that.
That's funny.
It's not a true nickname until you use it while you are in a heated argument. If you still use it during that, that is the official nickname.
So what's the nickname for you?
We run Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Well, it also depends on day, what's happening. We have some other nicknames, but Pumpkin's our go-to. That's our predominant one.
It's kind of sad. I don't think I have really a nickname.
I have friends who do not know her name, only know her as Pumpkin.
Oh,
what's
nice.
your wife's name?
Okay.
What's Pumpkin's name?
I thought you were saying you got friends that don't know their wife's name. Yeah. I don't have a nickname. I guess Babe.
You better find one.
Babe is the one. That's the classic.
You got to dig deep. You can't.
Babe.
That's too generic.
Yeah. Maybe the creativity bug just hadn't
gotta
struck.
You need to give Babe. You said you were saying Babe and Boo. You got to come
Which
up
is
with
weird because I never.
It's got to come naturally.
I never call her
yeah.
Boo, so I don't know where the Boo came from, but it was just it was a weird slip of the tongue. It was just like Babu. It came out. I was like, that was
Babu.
weird, but then it just kind of stuck after that. So
That is funny.
That's how they're born, though.
There you go. I do find myself calling Kristen Mama a lot.
Mom.
Now
there you go.
because the kids in there. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, we'll go tell Mama.
Yeah,
so-
we use that. We use Maul, though. Go get your Maul.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
old school.
That's right.
So rapid fire question number 3: favorite Bible story.
I've been digging Moses right now.
Ooh, which part? The whole thing.
The whole thing, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I've been learning so. That's a whole different podcast, but I've been learning so much through it.
I mean, it's a lot of them that are really, really good. One of my favorite ones was Job, but I mean, you can't go wrong with a good David story. So, you know,
yeah. It sounds kind of to not fall in the generic category of David. You know, David is pretty
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do my man Paul. You know, hit the adventure that man goes on, being shipwrecked on an island. You know, it's wild. It's wild, and he really sees and experiences a lot, and where he came from, to where he ended up is really remarkable.
It is. But have you seen any of the House of David stuff?
I've seen a couple episodes, but I haven't watched too much of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I figured you'd like it if you like David.
Good time. They're not a sponsor or anything, but we will give a shout out and a
Yeah.
plug. All right, rapid fire question. I think number 4 here. This is right up my alley. Star Wars or Marvel?
I have to go probably Star Wars with that. I mean, I'm not a huge, fanboy of any of those. But
With a name like Babu, you better be going. I don't know. I can't say either one. I'd rather watch House of David.
I'm a Star Wars guy. I have a whole game room at my house that's dedicated to it.
I have a theory on this, and I've heard other people say the same thing. So when I watch a movie, if it is not a realistic movie, I do not like watching. And by realistic, I don't mean like if you watch like Fast and Furious, that's completely unrealistic. But there is a realistic aspect to it. Whereas Star Wars is completely unrealistic.
Yeah. It's not.
So
what I like about it is, other than the Bible and the story of Jesus and all, it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest stories ever told.
at least the original
Star Wars,
Yeah,
The
dude.
original
You gotta-
6.
Yeah, the original. Oh, not the new stuff. The Disney stuff. We
the
go
one
on.
from like Harrison Ford.
That's old.
stuff?
Now that's picking up right in the middle. You got to go all the way back. It all started with the little boy Anakin, and the whole time the duel of the fates. Is he going to go good? Is he going to go bad? And then it's a story of fallen. He falls, and then his son brings him back in redemption. And at the end of the day, he fulfills he is the one that brings
So
balance.
you had to start with
Episode 1, which is
in chronological order.
it's
or
better to watch it in chronological. I saw it in theaters in 1999 when I was 9 years old.
That's your favorite one.
No, well, the prequels before the original trilogy is my favorite. That's just my era. But you got to go back and you got to start there to understand the story. It is in my opinion, it's the greatest story in modern film. But that's just me, and because of that, it almost has some biblical parallels too. I feel like so not to get super spiritual.
So does the Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does the Narnia.
Narnia. Oh, the
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
C.S. Lewis.
Man, we going way out in the weeds there. All right, rapid fire question number 5. Pineapple on pizza? ?
Yes.
Only if it's a Maui Wowie and the mellow mushroom.
Man, I'm gonna say,
Maui Wowie is
What's on that?
I don't know. Deliciousness is on that.
see, I can get down on some pineapple from time to time if it's paired with ham. I think, isn't it the ham that
Or
comes
Canadian
on?
bacon or
Or
something?
Canadian bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ham is the Hawaiian pizza.
Maybe. I'm not a pineapple on pizza guy. I'm just really not.
Oh, no.
I kind of
You
stay
have
away.
to have it prepared correctly.
Oh.
The Maui Wowie, we had the jerk chicken, banana peppers, your pineapple, something else on it. It's got a little spice, little kick to it. Man, that thing's delicious.
Yeah, hit you right in the flavor pocket.
Oh, yes, sir. Them taste
That's
buds
good.
is tingling.
All right, last question. she just pointed at me and winked at me whenever I opened this up. Bathsheba's fault? ? The story of David and
I heard
Bathsheba.
Uncle Jerry had an interesting take on it.
We do adult Bible study on Wednesday nights, and the story we're on the parables in the Old Testament, parables of Jesus, and it was the Nathan's parable that he used about the rich man and the poor man. Told David after he committed the sin, murdered Uriah, all those things, had him murdered. He said, there was a rich man, had a lot of different sheep. There's a poor man, he just had one little lamb. He loved him. He, petted him and all this stuff. Rich man was throwing a feast, chose not to kill any of his, but took the poor man's, killed his, and served it. And David said, anybody that does that deserves death. And Nathan said, you're that man. Mm-hmm. And God gave him that parable to convict and rebuke David. And anyway, it spurred some interesting conversation. There was we threw some questions. We had everybody pair up. What could they have done different to avoid, David and Bathsheba to avoid, some things. And there was one little group in the back corner that was like, it's her fault,
What age group were they?
Oh, they very seasoned. And it's her fault.
What gender?
Hey, they're male. Yeah. Okay. And they said even they said going back to Adam and Eve in the garden, they said it was Eve's fault.
It was Eve's fault.
It's
that was washing their hand. We had nothing to do with this.
Right. The men just had nothing to do. So back to this question.
Yeah, poor old David. He was just going out there to check out the stars. Huh?
Right.
So.
He saw a superstar.
Oh, he saw a superstar. Right. So the Bathsheba's fault? Question mark. What do you think?
Nah, I can't. Yeah, I can't put the blame on her. I mean, no.
All right. What do
you can't. She's not the fault. It is David's fault. But if you're going to go with what could she have done, and how strong is your faith? How strong is your principles? She could have, when David sent for her, brought her back before him. She obviously could have been drugged back. We don't know. This is where you got to fill in the gaps.
It doesn't explicitly say.
So if you got to put yourself in their shoes and their culture, their time. When you were brought for a king, he wasn't a president. He was a dictator, and not one who asked for permission or advice if he didn't want to. So it was his way or no way.
Right.
And when it wasn't his way, it was basically, I removed the cancer that is opposing me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So she could have had that option, other than, I guess, forcibly she could have been raped or whatever. But she could have looked him in his eye and said, I will not, quoted scripture or whatever, and said, I will not do that. You can kill me. And a lot of people have done that in life. That was her only other option.
Right.
Now, if she wanted to live, and, which I'm sure she did, that's human nature, she did what she did. So she can't be wrong. But if you were going to go into another aspect of it and say, what could they have done differently? If she had done that, would David not have said, like, wow, I'm definitely across the line? Same thing like Nathan did to him, or Naaman, the prophet. And then maybe that opened his eyes, and he would have, repented and got back on track. However, she was not wrong. That was all him, 100%. He can't. And to further that, when God sent his punishment out, he didn't send it to Bathsheba. Send it to David.
That's right.
And also, we do the whole thing. I'm going deep here, but when from a biblical aspect, we talk about the genders. That's a big thing in society right now. But man is head of the household. That means when your household does something, the man is responsible. That good or bad. So all the things that come from good for it, men don't really get a whole lot of credit for, because that's how it's supposed to go. When it goes bad, they have to take the heat and the answer for it, because it is their responsibility. So if he did something wrong, regardless, he is responsible. He answers that. She doesn't get involved in that. And the same thing with just one step above that is like the kingdom. So in Israel, the kings did all that. Whatever they did, the whole kingdom answered for, but it was the king's doing. And he bore the brunt of the responsibility, and then it trickled down on everyone else. But the king is the ultimate responsible, and in your household, you are the king of it, per se. And, you can't be shifting blame or making excuses that you are the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we ended up kind of landing on the fact that David was where he wasn't supposed to be to begin with. He was supposed to be doing his responsibility.
All consequences.
Right. If he would have been doing and been where he was supposed to be, he wouldn't have been able to see her and fall into that. So it was kind of a call to making sure that at all times we're where we're supposed to be. Yep. But also, the scripture says the enemy's like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. If you watch the Animal Planet, the enemy the lion goes after the one that's normally disconnected from the herd. It's over there kind of doing his own thing, the weak link.
Yep, and he's always in the shadow. He's never out where you can see him. So,
so it's always that one that's where he probably shouldn't be that finds himself the prey. So and that's pretty relevant, here. So clearly, things could have been done differently on all parties, but make sure you're where you're supposed to be. That's the point there.
Yep,
that's really good. Well, I mean, this has been a good little journey today, and talking about media, talking about a lot of variety, having some fun stories in there in between. Do you guys have anything you want to let our listeners know or mention before we cut loose?
Well, I guess to sum up the media thing, I am encouraged about the direction it's going. I think, I don't know, it's so encouraging to see more people, not only more, quality people make the things, but more people interested in it. Because I think that's what people are looking for: authentic Christian media that speaks to your heart. And man, I can't wait to see what else
the qualities. That's another good point. You get the quality, you're going to bring in people and viewers who are not necessarily Christians to see this. Like, how many people went and saw The Passion of Christ? Not because it was a biblical based thing. I mean, obviously that was probably the primary focus, but because it was a high quality produced film that was very,
right,
a great film to see. And now we got all these other shows coming out, like you said, that we didn't have the option to have. But how many more people are going to be drawn in just because it's a good show to watch, and then that could lead to something else, another domino falling, and next thing you know, they'd be looking for a church. Now, have y'all seen the new one? I saw advertisement for, I think, King of Kings or something like that.
Oh, yeah. So, it's really good. We're going to do a little movie night at the end of the summer here, a little drive-in movie, and we're going to play
It's good.
Yeah. It's super good. Hey, let me tell you, it's animated, son. I was searching for my Kleenexes. I'm telling you, boy.
Oh no!
I done got a little soft. I done got a little softy heart these days.
In your old age, you ain't as hard as you
Dude,
once was.
Yeah, I'm sitting there tearing up. I'm crying, boy. I'm biting my lip. It's tough, man. It's tough. It hits different when you have kids.
Yeah.
And some of these little biblical stories, mean a little bit more.
Well, that's good. That is encouraging that all this is happening, and we got options now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we thank you for tuning in. This has been a really fun one, and looking forward to episode 3. It'll be coming up very, very soon. Until then, we'll see you soon, and stay sharp. Have a good one.